Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Ella Hartwig. How's it going today?
Hello from warm, sunny Australia.
Well, it's good that it's warm and sunny. I'm in Texas, where we're still technically warm and sunny right now, at least for a couple more weeks. So,
Yeah, well, it's hit us hard already.
yeah.
I'm already feeling it. So,
Hey, fair enough. Because you guys are just now starting to get into springtime slash summertime.
yeah, it's spring, but it feels like summer
Hmm.
already.
Yeah,
So,
fair.
yeah.
Very fair. So you're out in Brisbane.
Yeah, Brisbane in Queensland.
How's the everything been going there?
Very good. I've just gotten back here, actually. I've just been on a tour for 4 months. I managed to total 18,700 Ks over 4 months, and
Wow.
it's been a really hectic time. I've been in and out, haven't been on the road the whole time, but yeah, in and out, flying, driving, planes, cars, buses, boats,
And
even. It's been a wild time, but yes, I'm back now and kind of recalibrating everything.
nice. And so I take it you've been touring around Australia, or have you been coming outside of Australia a bit?
Not outside of Australia yet,
Okay.
but yeah, pretty much up and down the coast. So as far up as my hometown, it's called Cooktown. It's north
Hmm.
of Cairns, up in far north Queensland, and then as down south as further down than Sydney. So
Fair.
bit of
So
a
like,
stretch of the
so for
coast.
like Adelaide almost, or, or
Still on the east coast,
okay,
not as far inland.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
every time I try and plan a trip to Australia, because in the back of my head, it's like, oh, I'll be there in the next 6 months. No, I won't. But it's just I like to kind of plan out these imaginary trips that I wish I could take, and it's like going from basically staying in the eastern side of Australia because I feel like
Yeah.
getting out to Perth is a trip by itself.
I
Uh,
still haven't been out to Western Australia yet.
no. Well, I don't think you're alone in that one. I've talked to a lot of people from Australia that have not ever been out to Perth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well,
uh,
I'm from a very remote town, so I mean it's really hard to travel anywhere. It takes a lot of steps to get somewhere, but now that I'm in Brisbane, everything feels a lot closer and more connected.
fair. So, so touring? You were on the road for 4 months. That's got to be a bit of a grind for you. Were you playing shows consistently, or was it kind of a broken up tour?
It was pretty broken up, but towards the end, I did 7 festivals over 8 weeks,
Oh
which
wow.
was insane. And then that one weekend off, I had like a band gig in Brisbane, even, and it's just all around the place. I went up to my hometown a few times, which I'm so blessed for, more times than ever. And I got to fly up that way because it's like 2,000 kilometers north, in a little remote town. So it's pretty hard to get there, and it takes a few days drive to get home. So I flew up that way, but then I drove down south, and then I flew out west to out to Mount Isa in the Australian outback, and got to sing my songs out there. So very, very grateful. It's just like I absolutely love traveling, and being able to do it for music is it's a little dream come true.
Nice. So you're literally living the dream.
Well, yes. However, I do write a fair bit on how it's overly romanticized.
Hmm.
One of my songs, Back Up, as a little mention, it's kind of about how the full-time musician life was overly romanticized for me. That was
Hmm.
my own responsibility, my own expectations. But it's all like, wow, like you go into the big city, you're gonna be living your dream. But boy, is it hard. It's a slog. That whole new levels, new devils thing. And yeah, yeah, I'm very grateful for it, but it's definitely it's really easy to just rattle off, oh yeah, I'm on tour, a touring musician, but boy, there are some challenges in there.
Fair. I've never heard that saying, new levels, new devils. I'm gonna have to take that one. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
I took it from somewhere else. I don't even know, but I was like, whoa, that describes it perfectly.
Nice. That is really cool. So you've been on the road for the last 4 months, and I'm guessing you've been promoting the 5 songs that you've released over the last year and a half or so. Is that kind of the point of the tour, or?
Yeah. So the point of the tour was to yeah, share my songs, you know, around Australia as much as I could, because I have been releasing I've released 5 singles over the last year and a bit, to create a buzz about the upcoming album. And then up in my hometown, I did a physical exclusive release of my new 13-track album, and I released it off to my hometown first, because I just feel like they have been supporting me since I was wrote my first song at 11 years old, and they've always been there. And I just thought it was the right thing to do, was to go up there with a CD and play the hometown festivals, play it to the hometown crowd, and yeah, sell it on CD, especially in like a growing digital age where, I don't know, touring's expensive and everything. I just thought, well, bugger it, let's just give it a go up
Right.
there. And yeah, so yeah, my hometown and my mailing list are the only people so far that have had access to buying, you know, the physical exclusive
Right.
album.
Nice. Hey, but you know what though? I've often said that that's the best way to kind of do do sales and make money off your music while still uploading it to Spotify. Because obviously Spotify, unless you're getting millions and millions of hits, you're really not collecting any kind of money from it. But if you're out there and you're playing consistently in front of a new crowd, having that physical CD is everything.
Yeah, and the $20 for that CD is worth however many streams, you
Mhm.
know. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for that.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, that album's a lot of like time, money, and effort, and yeah, I'm dragging it on, but I
Mm.
want to, you know.
Yeah.
And that's another reason for going to my hometown first, is like, I know they all have CD players up
Mm.
there and they have them in their cars, but a lot of my mates don't have CD players. But you know, it's not just about that, right? It's also
Mhm.
touching on, you know, on the streaming and getting money like directly to artists, and yeah, just doing something a little bit different.
Yeah.
uh it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so
It it's
yeah.
one of those things that it's like the fact that it's the full album's not out yet digitally, but it is, you do have hard copies of it. That's what makes that CD valuable, is the fact that we can listen to music that isn't on Spotify. That's why people are going to buy it.
Yeah, yeah. It feels very scary, not gonna
Mhm.
lie, because it's not what I had planned to do.
Mhm.
When I started the album, I had all my months planned out, and I was working backwards. I was like, we needed the mixes by here, all the post-production, you know, the points, the milestones. I was like, it's gonna be la 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 la, but oh my goodness, no. And I was like, well, bugger it, let's just do it differently. I mean, I
Mhm.
moved 2,000 kilometers away from my hometown to come down to the big city and to record this album, and so I'm just putting it out there and
Right.
trying something a little bit different.
Nice. How long have you been in Brisbane?
About 2 years now,
Okay.
which is kind of crazy to think. But it's been amazing. I've been working my networks. There are people to collaborate with down here, and I gig full time now. Definitely not able to do that up north because
Yeah.
there's a couple pubs, one main street, no traffic lights where I'm from, so very different. I had to navigate how to drive in the city and park for my gigs and everything, and it's just, yeah, so much is happening down here, and being able to work with other artists and have people in my band. I played a show with a 7-piece band the other month, and
Nice.
I was like, oh, I can't even fathom that that many people, you know, exist, and also that many people want to play in my band.
Nice. That's really cool. And so is that what you're kind of building towards, is to, as you're doing more shows, you kind of want to make it more of a band experience?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I play solo regularly, but
Hmm.
I absolutely froth. I love the idea of having my band backing me at shows, because I'm always one for a good boogie, and I feel like on the album all of the tracks have a full band sound, and we've got layers of instruments, we've got layers of harmonies, there's layers and layers and layers,
Hmm.
and it's very valuable to still be able to do a stripped back version and have the songs hold their own when I need to. But oh my goodness, it excites me. I've got my friend Sam on keys, and I've never ever played live with someone on keys before this, and oh, I'm hooked now. I don't think I can go back. I had a
Right.
trumpet player. It's just so exciting to me. I was like probably like nerded out about it. I was like, oh my goodness, it's like, yeah.
It is a completely different experience, because I was just at a music festival, And
Wow.
there was a guy, his name is John Fulbright, super talented musician. And he's like kind of like yourself, where if he played by himself, it would be an absolutely amazing show. But then he starts incorporating all these different instrumentalists, like a drummer and a guitar player, like all these different deals, and it just brings that show up to another level. Like he's already like here by himself, which is 20 steps
Oh.
ahead of just about anybody else. And then once he gets that full band in, he's just like, the fact that he's not winning Grammy after Grammy right now is a travesty.
Oh,
So,
yeah, no, I love that. It just, yeah, it elevates the sound a lot. And I mean, on this album, like I've written all the songs myself, and
mhm,
I have had to do a lot of things on my own because I guess that's the lifestyle I chose. You know, I'm a solo artist primarily. I've
mhm,
come from a little remote town, and I'm putting myself out there, and being able to do something with other people and share that experience is just so wild. And I just can't even explain that feeling of like these songs I've written, you know, with my heart and soul, and then having other people perform them with me. It just
mhm,
feels so special. It's like such a different kind of mateship. And like that's what a band is, I suppose. Like you're
mhm,
all like coming from a united place, and they're sharing that, and they're putting their own kind of spins on things, their own emotions into it. And it just it feels like they've really got me when we play together. It just it's so exciting. You know,
mhm.
I'm not 12 years old in my bedroom anymore, like fantasizing, oh, one day maybe I'll be able to have a band. And it's just so cool. It's so cool to fathom. I never want to take that for granted, to have other players that are invested in my music and
Mhm.
willing to share the stage with me. It just feels so special.
Nice. I'm going to leave a side note here really quick. This excitement that you have right now, please hold on to this, because when
Yeah.
musicians have this kind of excitement throughout their career, it is just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you think it's fun to watch, because sometimes I feel like it seems a little bit crazy.
No, not at all. It's like I go out, I do my podcast, and it's like I have that same excitement. It's like, why do people even want to talk to me? I could barely get my words out half the time. I'm just a never mind. But it's just so cool to kind of see this energy and this it's contagious in a lot of ways. So
Oh,
um
I'm glad. Thank you.
yeah. So you'd mentioned that you started writing music when you were 11, 12. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah, so
you
I wrote my first song when I was 11.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm 21 now. So it's kind of weird to think that I've been writing songs for a decade. Um, I mean, it all started, I got piano lessons when I was about 8 years old, and then I didn't love being told what I needed to learn. And so I kind of took a little break. I was like, oh, I don't want to do my scales and stuff. And
Yeah.
then um, Cooktown didn't have like a music program, but we
Mhm.
did have some keyboards. So I kind of borrowed one over the holidays or something like that, and I was like, "Ooh," found it again. And I had some friends around me that were into music as well, and then it just went from there. I just started writing. I just found a love for it. Mum and dad kind of played a little bit, and I mean, people always had guitars around. That's what you do in a small town: sit around the campfire and play guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just fell in love with it. And it's kind of like my therapy. It's my way to connect with the world. And it made sense. It just makes sense to me. Um,
Yeah.
and just kept going.
Nice.
So
So that first song that you wrote when you were 11, do you still play it, have it, remember it?
I I could probably find some sort of archive on it, but I remember it being called Rusty Tears. And it was very dark for an 11-year-old. I think I
Rusty.
was into the Adele phase, like she was all like very cool and like mature. And I've
Mhm.
always written more like mature for my age, I suppose. Like my 2019 EP, they are songs that I wrote when I was like 13 or 14 years old. And I mean, there's like breakup stuff in there, but I mean, that's like I was just going off what my friends had told me. I didn't know anything. I wasn't going through breakups. I mean, I was just trying to make sense of the world. But
Okay.
but yeah, now I've got some more like life experience to write off, and yeah, really just experimenting with other writing styles. And I've been writing by myself for years and years and years, but
Yeah.
now now that I'm down here, I'm starting to co-write more and collaborate with more people. And
Yeah.
I guess in the world of Zoom, like we're doing right now, you can do it online anyway. But being down in the city, I feel like it's just where I need to be at the
Mhm.
moment, and
Yeah.
collaborating with more people. And yeah, it's just exciting. It's like it's a novelty that I don't ever want to wear off, I
Nice.
suppose.
I don't ever want to see it wear off. So the so you've been writing since you were 11, and obviously your style is obviously as you got older, your style has changed, your voice has changed, as nature kind of does its thing. Um, but who have you been listening to recently that's like really been inspiring, like musically speaking? Is there?
Yeah. So I feel like in my album, I never really understood when people had guide tracks to go
Mm,
off things. So everything in the album kind of just came out as it needed to. But some of the kind of concepts and stuff, I really resonate with Noah Khan.
hmm
He, when I was 14, I fell in love with his music, and then he became super popular with Stick Season. I was like, wait, I was like, I I feel like I know that voice, and then I was like, yeah, that's the dude I used to listen to when I was like younger, and also Sam Fender really rings a bell for me. Some of my other influences, there's of course the iconic Missy Higgins, and I draw a lot from Paul Kelly, the way he songwrites and the kind of like Australian, that sort of like country rock, just real raw, like
yeah,
just yeah, and yeah, I'm titling my album as a country folk record.
nice.
But really there's pop and rock influences in there. And I'm calling it country because I'm writing stories about where I come from, and
hmm
my journey from the small town down to the city and just making sense of the world. So yeah, I'm sharing stories about my hometown in it. And yeah, those kind of artists just really helped kind of shape my storytelling. And I just love hearing how their perspectives are shown through the music. And so that's where I was, oh, I just want to write my story, but through my perspective, because no one else has my perspective. So
Yeah,
figuring out ways that I can communicate that has been really interesting and cool.
yeah. Hey, that's what's up. It's one of those things where it's like finding a way to draw influences from other musicians because I mean we've all got influences. We've all got other creatives that have impacted how we approach right like whatever our creative endeavors are in this case specifically music. um but the fact that you're able to kind of take these influences but still make it very authentic to who you are as a musician, that's the secret sauce right there, like that, because a lot of musicians right now are just kind of becoming clones of who they like,
I get
just
that.
to try and get a match what's being played on the radio or whatever,
Mm,
or doing well on Spotify. But I've for the last like week or so, I've had the opportunity to just kind of like really focus in on your music because I've been on the road so much. So it's just like, okay, I need something to listen to, and I just feel an authentic connection with whatever it is you're doing. Like whatever song it is, whatever project. There you could pick up like little things. Oh, it's like, oh, that sounds familiar, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it all just feels very authentically you.
that is the biggest compliment. I'm so grateful. Because yeah, that's the thing. Trends change.
Hmm
And by the time you've written the song or recorded the album, it might have changed again, and I think my mum and I joked about it. I've on social media, I've been starting to show more of my personality rather than just like
Yes.
singing a song and trying to advertise my song. And I was like, well, I might as well show the silly parts of me as well, because even if I tried to fake it, it would come out eventually. Who am I kidding? This is
Right.
who, like, some of that stuff, like the stories from my hometown, some of it I can't make up. And I am now just becoming more grateful and appreciative and proud of where I've come from. Because I used to think it was a bit of like, oh, it's kind of hindrance on like my career, and but it's cool, and I'm proud of it now. I used to think it was just a little old small town, but yeah, that's my story, and I realize, like, what else do I have other than my opinion, other than my perspective? Like, that's my story. I can't change it. I can't change where I've come from, so I might as well write about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's too, like, there's so much going on in this industry, and it's too hard to try and create something extra or try and create a fake persona. I don't have the energy for that. I'm
Hmm.
just trying hard enough to be myself, and
Hmm.
that's a whole journey in itself, you know.
Right.
So I'm so glad that you really like resonated with the authenticity of
Yeah.
those songs, because that's just what I'm trying to express.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Really appreciate that.
it's so funny because I think one of the because Sunday I literally just got off the road. I was at a music festival like a couple hours south of me, so I was driving a whole bunch and just like for for the purposes of this podcast, I was listening to the Fields of Gold EP. Like that
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of like the predominant thing that I was listening to because I was like, we're going to talk about it at some point, so I might as
Yeah.
well become familiar with it. And just
Thank
like the
you.
title track off of it was like, this is something special. Like and then just kind of taking the opportunity to like really dive in has been really cool. So
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you.
yeah.
Because yeah, Fields of Gold, I that just kind of also came out. I feel like I wanted one of those kind of country-esque, but a
Hmm.
folk pop song.
Yeah.
And I really drew from like Vance Joy in that song, and
Mm.
how he has the fun like trumpety things, and I'd never had trumpet in a song. But yeah, that song mixes trumpet, banjo, and there's even an organ in there. And I
That's
was
what
like,
it was. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of my
Okay.
friends pointed out they're like trumpet, banjo, and organ in a song, and I was like, well, might as well. Because my producer Casper Hall, he loves a good organ, and he loves putting it in all there, and it worked. It worked so well, and yeah, I just don't think I've ever really written something like that before, and I kind
Mhm.
of just wanted something that expressed in a fun way, like, oh, there's beauty in the earth and in the trees, and sometimes I laugh when I sing it because that pre-chorus is so happy, and it's so just like, ooh, happy,
Yeah.
happy. And I don't usually write that kind of surface level of like, there's beauty here, there's beauty, like, why don't we just figure it out? I'm like,
Hmm.
might as well just try something different, get it out there. And yeah, it's a bit of a new sound, but I wanted to express all the sides. Like, we've got the slow kind of
Hmm.
singer-songwriter folk, and then we've got the Western star of like the country, and then yeah, that's more of like the folky, whatever you want to call it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you'd kind of actually just brought up my next question, which is you'd mentioned that you kind of lean into different subgenres of what you're trying to like where you kind of think you fit. Do you feel like that's going to be your music kind of moving forward? Is just kind of always jumping between kind of like this rocky, folky, country, and just kind of jumping in between all three of those? Or do you find yourself one day just going full bore into like folk Americana type or country type or more of a rocky? Like, what's kind of your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So I was randomly just reading up on the history of like record labels and how country, has developed, and how Nashville
Hmm.
even became a thing, because Nashville, like, wasn't a country town, but then it became the hub of like country music, and
Yeah.
and how all that sort of developed. And I think I will jump between sort of different styles, because sometimes I might just want to just really rattle a little banjo in there. And I have acquired many instruments since living down in the city, and I aspire to use all of them. I've got many, and I don't want to waste them. And so, if there's a track and I'm like, damn, some banjo would be great.
Yeah.
That's rather iconic to country music. And I'm like, cool, let's chuck some slide in.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these songs I have stylistically tried to make sound a certain
Mm.
way.
Yeah.
And even Casper, he found a rain stick on the side of the road. Like, those like
Hmm.
rain
Yeah.
stick wooden ball things. So
Yeah.
we chucked that in some of the songs. I mean, there's one of a pop rock song on this album, and we've put a rain stick in there. I mean, one of the other songs, my mum sampled like a trickling sound from the river and in the creek in the backyard in my hometown. We've put that in there over some didgeridoo. And
Nice.
right. And another song has like mandolin and banjo, and it's all
Yeah.
and so I don't know. And then there's like the trumpety poppy guitar riff. Like I just have these feelings, and I try and express them with music, and it's really fun to me, and it's so exciting mucking around with different instrumentation. And yeah, the
Nice.
styles change all the time. All those
Yeah.
subgenres,
Oh yeah.
they change. And how do you even what is that genre technically? Like there are
Mhm.
instruments for sure that are more suited to different styles, but well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just playing what comes out of me, and sometimes that does make it hard when uploading. And I'm like, oh, what do I put in to the platform to say what genre this is? Because then is that going to spit it out? Like, does the
Mhm.
genre even matter? I don't know. I don't understand. I don't even know. So I just kind of slap that on there, and
Fair.
it's open to interpretation.
Oh
Whatever you
yeah.
think it is what it is.
100%. I Are you familiar with have you listened to the bluegrass music?
Sometimes I was practicing my banjo rolls the other day,
Yeah.
and I was like looked up some bluegrass. Some old dude was teaching me how to do some rolls on YouTube, and it
Yeah.
was really cool.
Nice. I was gonna say, if you really want to go down the history rabbit hole, go start diving down the history of bluegrass. That is a whole thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm keen to. I want to
yeah.
learn more about it. I've gotten books on the industry. I never really learned much about music history,
Hmm.
or I don't know. But now I'm super interested in traveling around and
Hmm.
songwriting. And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Like people have done this before, so I might as well try and learn off them.
Hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've always been a big fan of history, and actually, it's quite funny. When I was in school, I took classic musical history,
Wow.
and I failed miserably because it was like we're talking like the 1400s Beethoven, just like that type of stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but at the time I was like 19 years old, so
Yeah.
I didn't really know any better. But um, so
Still
what?
interesting, hey?
Yeah, it is. It really is. So with this new album on the horizon and the announcement forthcoming, how long have you kind of been working on this project? Did you start working on it once you got to Brisbane, or were you working on it even before you got to Brisbane?
So the oldest song that I've written on there is the first track on the album. It's called Rear View Town. And I wrote that just before I left Cooktown for the first time. I went up to the Torres Strait Islands for a few months.
Nice.
So I got the small town out of my system. I went even more remote than Cooktown, which is hard to imagine. And then, so I wrote the song about, yeah, the bittersweet feeling of leaving my hometown. And that was in, I'm going to say early 2022. And I've just been writing the songs all along the coast of Australia, because I drove down to Brisbane, so I was riding along, and that's how Western Star came about. I was driving, and a Western Star truck pulled up next to me, and I wrote it that night in a hotel room. Like it came to me in the car, and everything just came out the way it was.
Nice.
So yeah, I guess these songs from the start of 2022, and then the most recent song I feel like I wrote. Um, let's say like start of 2023. So I've just
Okay.
been pitter-pattering, like writing for a year. And then we recorded Out of Stone first. That's the first single that's
Hmm.
come off it. And yeah, that's the first one we released. And as we were going, we were still working on the other songs and producing them and seeing what sounds we wanted and getting the full scope of everything. And yeah, so it was 17 minutes of recording, dwindled down to 44 minutes of audio.
Hey, you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah,
Oh, so obviously you've been busy. You were on the road for 4 months, and now you're kind of coming home to like really push the rest of this project to the finish line. What's
yeah.
kind of running through your mind right now? Where are you kind of at mentally?
Um, it's the physical exclusive release was kind of haunting me, really. I was like, oh my goodness, why am I doing this? What's going on? I don't know. I'm sure other people have done it, but no one on my like immediate feed in my circle. I don't know
Yeah.
people who have done this. I don't know. It's all like this in the industry. There's no right or wrong,
Hmm.
and that's kind of it's cool that there's a lot of freedom, but that means there's also not much to go off. There's so many ways that you can do things, and it's liberating, but at the same time, really scary because I'm just giving it a go, and
Hmm.
there's no way to know until I do it. And
Yeah.
so I'm putting it out there and hopefully people resonate with it. And I'm, yeah, very grateful that you felt the authenticity coming out of those songs because, there's more where that came from. There's a whole
Yep.
album coming and so yeah, it's 13 tracks of my story.
Nice.
And
All right.
I'm excited, but yeah, but scared. But it's that whole choose your discomfort.
Hmm.
Do I want to be scared, too scared to do it, scared like and uncomfortable that I'm not doing it, or do I want to be scared because I have, put it out there? So choose a discomfort, and I'm choosing to send it because it's not about
Nice.
me anymore. I've made them. I've made the CD. It's time to put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to go back out on the road after the new year, or are you going to kind of stay and stay in place right now?
There's not too much planned in regards to like another tour.
Hmm.
Um, but one of my goals is to play my original music in every state and territory in Australia before I head
Nice.
overseas. Which sounds kind of like a lot because traveling in Australia seems to be super expensive. It's cheaper for me to
Hmm.
fly to Bali than it is for me to visit my hometown, my mum and
Wow.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that might I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I'm planning to be in Tamworth for about a month, and then I'll be busking on the streets there and having my CDs with me and
Nice.
just pushing it out there. I want to do some local shows and yeah, give an opportunity to really milk like, oh, you can only buy the CD physically and yeah,
Nice.
just put it out there and figure out how I go. It's all
Yeah.
trial and error, and all I've got are my resources, and I'm trying to make the most of my resources as an
Hey,
independent artist. So,
that's the way to do it. You're at an age right now where these gambles, these chances, these risks, whatever you want to call it, they're not going to permanently harm you in any kind of way. Like
yeah,
you're young enough you can recover from it. Like all the stupid decisions I made when I was 20, 21, 22 that I regret, but I also would have regretted had I not done them.
yeah,
So,
it's
um,
all
you
part
know,
of it. Hey,
yeah, it's all part of growing up. And I think you're gonna find that just kind of taking this chance is gonna be a success no matter what. Like
yeah,
you sell one CD or you sell a million CDs, like it's all gonna be a success.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's a good way to
oh
look at it.
yeah. So Tamworth, are you going out there for the music festival in a couple, right? That's in like
Yeah,
January, right?
yeah, in
Okay.
January, right,
Yeah.
right in the heat of summer.
Right?
Um, but yeah, it's an experience. I went for the first time this year, because I've been, living too remote to get to the festivals. So this year's been a lot for me. I've been going to way more music events and more things down this way because sure, Tamworth's about like I think 6 hours west or something, but the closest Macca's to my hometown up north is 4 hours away. So it's
Hmm.
in relation, it's nothing. And it just feels so much closer. So
Nice.
yeah, I've been going out to heaps more. So
Nice.
keen
I
to
I keep getting told that Tamworth is one to check out, and then the Gimpy Music Muster. is the other
Yeah,
one.
yeah. It was also my first year at Gympie this year.
Yeah,
I played in one of the talent searches. So yeah, got to play in a competition and got to sing in another showcase my first year.
nice.
So I'm very lucky about that. But I do suppose that's a result of me putting myself out there an
Mhm.
insane amount. So just if I make enough noise, the right people are bound to hear me. Is what I tell myself.
Oh yeah, for sure. So in the Australian music scene, is radio still hold a lot of weight, like getting radio play and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's a lot. A lot of people in my industry and around in my circles, they get on the radio a fair bit.
Hmm.
I know there's like the ABC Country, which I was super excited on when I got on the Saturday Night Country, and yeah, the radio play seems to be fairly big. I don't have the stats on how effective it is or how many listeners there are, but yeah, when I'm scrolling through Instagram, it's likely almost every time I see one of the artists I follow, like, oh look, we got a new radio station and
Yeah.
stuff, and the AMRAP charts are a pretty
Oh,
big
really?
thing here. Um, yeah, a lot of people I know, yeah, they're on them too, which is really exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems to kind of be the way things are going, but yeah, as we mentioned before, you know, there's no right or wrong way, and there's no one way to do things. So it's just really cool to see how everyone else is going about their career and seeing what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I ask because I've noticed here in the States that radio, like the importance of radio is starting to come back around. Like I feel like there was like a
Mm.
10 years or so where radio wasn't quite as important as like Spotify or social
Yeah.
media. But nowadays, just like especially locally for young artists kind of coming up, that radio play is just as important as it's ever been. So,
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I've heard that college radio is big over
mhm.
there. Yeah, I would love to get into that more, I feel. Um, that would be sick. And yeah, I don't know. I've heard many different things. People are like, oh, no one listens to the radio anymore. But I don't know. I don't have enough of a sample size to make a big kind of
Mhm.
opinion on that. So
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Well, and it makes sense for artists to really push for radio because the payout for radio is a lot better. Like,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
one spin of your song and you make, I think in the States, one spin of your song and you make like a quarter or something, like a quarter of a dollar or something. I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
you get on enough stations and they play it enough, it's like it won't be long before you're making at least okay money doing that. So, you
Yeah.
know,
All in good time, hey?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, outside of music, obviously you've been on the road a bit, but right now I'm sure you're trying to take some time for yourself to kind of decompress and come down from life on the
Yeah.
road. What do you like to do outside of music?
I was asked this not long ago, and outside of music, is there's so many aspects of music, and I fill my time up very well. I mentioned before that I have a lot of instruments,
Hmm.
and I've taken up. I want to upskill in them. So, I mean, the other day I filled my time practicing piano, mandolin, and violin. Then I've got my bass guitar. Then I've got a banjo. Then I've got an electric guitar, a couple of acoustic. Like, I mean, I've got a lot of instruments to keep me busy. But I've just put a more shelving for my storeroom of my music stuff, and I've got some painting like stuff in there, and so I like to do some visual art.
Yes.
I was liking to garden, but then I was away on tour, and that they don't really go hand in hand. And I really enjoy driving up north, going full driving and stuff on to go on fishing trips. Was a lot of how I spent my weekends. Um,
Nice.
but I just like getting in nature, really. I guess there's it's kind of those basic means of the nature, but yeah, the visual art is a way that it's like a carefree
Mhm.
creative outlet, because even songwriting, I'm very consistent with my songwriting, but also that's now part of my job, which I'm super grateful for, but it's sometimes hard not to put pressure on it. So having a creative outlet like visual art, you know, I'm not trying to be a professional painter. I just sometimes like making pictures. Um,
Sure.
so I do that, but yeah, I just feel like there's many. facets of music that interest me, you know, like if I'm not feeling particularly creative, I'll do my accounting side, like I'll do all the business work. And then if I do feel like some creative writing, I will write up all my stuff for my business. And yeah, it's running a music business. There's so many content
Mhm.
creation, there's a social side, there's going out and watching music, there's I gig full time, so there's, you know, practicing for that, booking more gigs, booking shows, travel plans, collaboration. There's, yeah, outside of music, I sleep. No. it
Fair.
I don't feel like it's unhealthy though. I do have some life outside of music, but
That's
that's, I can't tell you what that is exactly.
fair.
It's a
Because then
secret. I
because
don't
then
even
you'd
know
have
it.
to kill me, right? Is that how it goes?
No, I don't even, I wouldn't even know the answer.
Yeah,
Um,
fair enough. It's all
yeah,
good. You know, I feel like the fact that you even within the music, you still find balance of exercising different parts of your brain because obviously just
totally.
focused on the audible creative aspect of playing and writing and all that stuff, that's very taxing. But then to kind of be able to switch to more of a financial or use a different part of your brain that isn't
Yeah.
necessarily the creative part, I like even within that, that's still balance, you know?
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of balance, and even if I am feeling particularly creative, I can create more of my merchandise, which
Hmm.
involves like I have tote bags and I hand print them, and then, you know, if I want to do more like analytical things, I'll count my stock of t-shirts and I will run some numbers or
Nice.
anything. I mean, it's such a good job for me because I've got so many interests, and luckily there's a lot involved in being a full-time musician, and it's not just about writing the songs and singing
Hmm.
them. There's you know, many different aspects of it, and I'm very grateful that I enjoy them because not everyone does, and they're hard. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I'm able to, yeah, just enjoy so many sides of it. So yeah, we joke about you know, I'm not doing a 9 to 5, decided not to do that lifestyle. I'm going to do a 24/7. And it's pretty much that, you know, it's not the 9 to 5, it's the 24/7. And I feel that. But yeah, it is important. I've needed to find balance on, you know, not just being consumed and networking all the time and actually having friends and social
Hmm.
interactions that aren't in a crowded room watching live music, yelling over music at a gig. You know, it's good to me to have social interaction because it's really easy for me to get peopled out but lonely at the same time because I'm putting myself out there. I'm networking
Yep.
all the time, traveling, I'm meeting new people. Like I meet people all the time, but then I'm back and I was like, oh, like I
Hmm.
just haven't made time to see my smaller circle and my family and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, lately it's just taking more note and acknowledging my basic needs has helped so much after the tour. Like the eating well, exercising, and sleeping. I
Yep.
so often overlooked, but I've been doing that, and then I have more energy. You know, I've got a cup to share now. If my cup's not full, there's no Ella to give, and
Hmm.
yeah, I've just been really working on that and making sure, yeah, I find the balance.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's really cool. So kind of looking forward, obviously you said you're gigging all the time and all that fun stuff. But what's how often are you playing right now? You said you're a full-time musician, so I'm guessing you're playing pretty consistently.
Yeah, yeah. So every weekend I'm out there with my guitar. Um, and yeah, just working on my craft, making money. And that's, yeah, my primary source of income,
Nice.
which is cool. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, still learning, still getting out there. And yeah, so that's where I've been really trying to get some more festival slots and more original music shows, because it's really easy to get caught up in that cover gig scene.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm just making sure everything I'm doing is in line with my well, my values for one, and then my future goals. Like, yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm really focused on getting this album out there, and I'm very grateful that, yeah, you contacted me at a time where, you know, I'm announcing the physical exclusive release of my album.
Nice. That's cool. That's cool. So as far as your gigs go, how often or what would you say like the mix is of original gigs versus like cover gigs, or is it all pretty much original stuff?
It's getting, yeah, pretty much original
Mm,
stuff now. I did start university this year. I'm not too sure what's going to go on because I'm already working in the industry that I want to be in for the rest of my
mhm.
life. But yeah, I'm doing a business degree and a creative industries like double degree. But I'm learning a lot from the industry, and so I wanted to kind of do the uni during the week and then do more original stuff. And with the tour, that's been original music and being able to play
Mhm.
these festivals like more than ever, which is so
Yeah.
exciting. But yeah, before that it was, pub gigs, sometimes 5 a week, and all that. But yeah, I'm learning. I'm practicing my craft. I'm dealing with live sound. I'm dealing with people putting my name out there, getting people to follow me in real life, and getting those networks together. But yeah, I'm actually at that kind of tipping point now where I'm doing more original gigs than the cover gigs, and that is exactly what I wanted. And I'm so grateful that I was able to make that change.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that even like right now, just kind of looking at your Spotify, not including the 7 songs that you've still got to release that's coming out of this,
Yeah.
right? 7 or is it 8? Whatever. You get
Yeah.
the point. Um, the fact you've got so much music already out that you could fill a good 2 hour gig and barely even have to
Yeah.
put any cover songs in. I'm sure you probably throw like one or two in just for to keep life interesting, but the fact that you could
Yeah.
do 100% original
Yeah. And even
gig.
at these the gigs that I do for work, I'm
Mm,
singing a lot of my original stuff because,
mhm,
I'm an original artist, and
mhm.
and I'm here to share my songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so important. 100% so important. So you'd mentioned that you do all your social content and all that fun stuff. What's the social platform that you find really interesting right now?
I enjoy Instagram.
Okay.
However, I feel like TikTok has been more effective for me. I've gotten a lot of traction on there compared to the other
Mm,
platforms. Um, and yeah, it's just a different platform, and kind of almost more interactive. I've gotten a lot of the truck drivers on board with Western Star from TikTok, which is very exciting.
nice.
But yeah, Instagram feels fun. Yeah, I enjoy them all. I actually do enjoy social media. And it is really hard when I'm not really seeing results, but
Hmm.
now I have been able to see results from the work that I've been putting in, which is super motivating. And it's very encouraging. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to see more. And yet again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So I totally empathize when people say it's overwhelming and hard, because you need to find a way to make it sustainable for you, because a lot of the time it's not. People are like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
editing these videos for hours, and then I'm meant to post this many times a week. Are you? I don't know.
Hmm.
Like what's a formula? If there were a formula, everyone would be doing it. It
Right.
would be working for everyone.
Right. I've tried
So
so many different ways to handle social media. It's like I would come in on a Saturday, like just sit here at the house all day Saturday and just create all the content I need for the week. And then
yeah.
Sunday I would upload it and schedule it out. And that worked
Wow.
for a little bit. And then by like the third or fourth Saturday, I was like, I am so tired from spending my free time just creating nothing but content that I was burning myself out.
Yeah.
And so now I just kind of do it day by day. Like that's the way it's
Yeah.
got to be. So,
Yeah, totally. And yeah, that doesn't sound, very sustainable, and then, therefore not enjoyable. So
mhm.
so what's the point, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where it's like you still got to find a way to enjoy it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And since I've been really working on, showing up authentically on social media, I feel like I haven't had to plan things out as much. I mean, I do still think about things, but I kind of just post how I'm feeling. And I'm like, okay. And I kind of figured out how to incorporate it into my life more. And I figured out how to make it work a little more, and yeah, obviously still figuring it out, but yeah, I don't feel like it's too much of a hassle or too much of a big task as what I used to think it was. Because yeah,
Mm,
just started incorporating it more. Like, okay, we're doing a gig, we'll pop the camera up, or like,
yeah,
oh, we're doing this cool thing. Oh, let's get someone get a video, and just like
right.
different perspectives. And I'm like, oh, like I'm actually working all the time.
Hmm.
What am I trying to say? You know, what am I trying to share? And so I don't know, just been trying to work it into my life, and yeah, yet again finding that balance, and also trying to share my story in a way that's true to me, but that also resonates with other people. Because
Yeah.
yeah, like the more personal, the more universal it is.
Hmm. And the more people are going to connect with it, and even though they may not relate to the specific story you're telling, they're
Yeah.
going to relate to it, to a similar feeling or a similar vibe, or the fact that you're telling your story. They're going to be like,
Yeah.
oh, that reminds me of the time that I went through this, something very similar. You get what I'm saying. So,
Yeah, exactly. Because not everyone comes from a small town, but
mhm.
everyone does come from somewhere.
Yes.
And that's where I really, with my song Hometown, I was like, well, it's very specific, and there are a lot of specific anecdotes to
Mhm.
my life in Cooktown, but everyone does come from somewhere. So
Mhm.
hopefully that resonates with people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But I don't want to keep you here too much longer.
Yeah.
So, if anybody wants to check out your music, the upcoming, learn more about the upcoming physical release or any upcoming shows, social media, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Uh, Ella Hartwig. If you look me up on the internet, a scary amount of information comes up. But yeah, I'm pretty active on my social media, but on my website is where I'll be selling the CDs off. And that's
Mm,
as straightforward as www.ellahartwig.com. And yeah, it's all on there, trying to make myself easily discoverable.
nice, nice. You brought up an interesting point, but it is scary how much information just Googling yourself kind of comes out. So
Mhm. Well,
it's
it's all in this day and age, hey?
right, right. But once again, I really appreciate your time. It's been an absolute blast chatting with you. You're welcome on anytime, so feel free to reach out and
Oh,
loved it. Love
bless
this.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a really good conversation, and I really appreciate your time. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you want to support Ella Hartwig, we will have her Spotify and website and all that stuff in the description below. So feel free to go check that out. And once again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.